Well, we're live here in in Lenny's. It's the Lenny Melnick Network. We're doing a little bit of a live end of trade deadline special, and looks like at least we have the disembodied voice of Joe Tardif from.
Can
Hey
you hear
Joe,
me?
how you doing?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm currently outside in the rain on trade day.
On what day? Trade day. Oh,
Day.
I thought you said parade day. Yeah,
No.
I just let you know we are live because I wanted to start at 2:45 to give a little minute to let people show up. But yeah, I was actually a little bit late because the news came out on the Cubs trading Craig Kimbrell. And did you hear that one?
Yeah, I just seen that. I just seen that about 5 minutes ago.
I mean, fantasy wise, you got two of the best closers in the game, Liam Hendricks and Craig Kimbrell, now on the same team, and the reports are that they're going to be splitting time. So that kind of sucks for everybody. But baseball wise, it's a whole lot of fun. The idea of having that bullpen. I mean, the White Sox starting rotation was about as good as it gets. They've all been healthy, but you're looking at a bullpen that has like Kopech, and they picked up Ryan Tepera, and they have Aaron Bummer coming back, and now they have at the back end Liam Hendricks and Craig Kimbrell. They're trying to make it foolproof over there.
Well, the thing with La Russa is he's been, because I watch a decent amount of White Sox ball. He only really likes to use mainly. He's been relying on Kopech and Liam Hendricks. So giving him another weapon to maybe so he can actually rely on and have three relievers in the back end now.
Well, it's hard to make a judgment on Tepera. He's only been there one day, but yeah, give him more stuff. They've had the best luck with their starting pitching staff as far as playing well and staying healthy. That's a team to reckon with.
Yep, and Robert's coming back. Robert's on a couple final rehab stints, so he'll be back in the lineup.
Actually, as a Cub fan, I kind of like the return that they got for Kimbrell, considering he was going to be gone into the year anyway, and they got Nick Madrigal. And I like the idea of the infield having Nico Horner and Nick Madrigal on the same team. Two guys that are really good contact hitters. Maybe not a lot of power, but that's what the team has been missing. Cubs have been missing since 2016 when they won. The team had a lot of guys that could swing and miss and hit for power, but they had a couple of guys that were kind of glued to the team, which were Ben Zobrist and Dexter Fowler, and maybe they can put something together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to see the return because I seen the breaking news, but getting Nick Madrigal.
They got Nick Madrigal and a relief pitcher. Try to find that.
Nick's very, very good. I mean, I know when I'd watched a little bit of him, but he was above 300, so good contact stats.
Yeah, it would put two of the better contact guys on the same team. The only thing about it would be we have to sweat out the next couple hours because there would be one scenario where Nick Horner's the shortstop of the future and Madrigal's their second baseman of the future, which means they trade Javi Baez, which I'm perfectly okay with.
That's actually, I was going to tell you, the Mets are in negotiations to get Javi Baez as we speak.
I just don't. That's the one guy that they can't really. That's the one that the team just likes too much. I can't imagine they move Baez before they move Bryant. I just can't imagine them doing that. For whatever it's worth.
Yeah, that's because I just seen the Mets were.
Oh, I just lost you. Sound wise. I wonder if everyone else is hearing me. Did I mute you somehow? Nope, he's live. Well, I mean, basically, I lost you for a second there. I hear you now. I can hear the rain. I hear the rain. I hear the rain. I hear the rain. Got to be the pain. Little Violent Femmes for you. But I don't hear your voice. I hear your background. Kimbrell trade. And a lot of this that we're going to talk about today is going to be a little bit on the fly. And one of the reasons I wanted to come on early was I wanted to read some of the notes that Lenny was so kind to put in here, because he's been watching this on 34 minutes ago. Dodgers are among teams eyeing Ken Kimball via Joel Sherman. I guess that's out the door. One exec said that Trevor Story has dropped and now feels more than less likely that the Rockies will be traded 2 hours before deadline. Real prices emerge. Since I'm getting the Mets are still talking with the Cubs, but if Bryant moves, San Francisco Giants seem likely. New York Mets are in on Baez. I can hear your background.
Yep, the trade just went trade just went official.
Which trade?
Baez to the Mets. It's official.
Well,
I just got the alert from one of the ESPN insiders. I don't know the return yet, but I'm assuming the return is probably. I mean, to be honest, some of these trades the last couple of days have been kind of like the Marlins. I think made out good for Marte.
Yeah, the only trades that I think have been close to balanced was the Berrios trade and the Marlins trade. You know, a lot of them have been like, yeah, we know we're losing the guy, we're going to give him up for something. You know, like, but you know, the big trade, is still pending. The Scherzer deal. The rumor is that the Padres have a backup deal in case it falls through. But I look at that trade and they got Keibert Ruiz and Josiah Gray and 2 rather unknown players. But it's like the world is littered with, you know, there's that thing that says there's no such thing as a pitching prospect. The truth is there's no such thing as a catching prospect. I mean, very few catchers break through and do anything of any value. It's littered with guys that just don't do much. I would never trade for a catcher. Part of the reason why I'm not super big on Adley Rutschman is because I've been through this before with Jeff Clement and with Matt Wieters and with Mike Zunino, really Blake Swihart, super highly touted catchers that never do much of anything.
Yeah,
you know, and so it's like it's like you got the Dodgers' 4th favorite catcher in the deal, even though he's a top 100 prospect. I don't think much of that. And Josiah Gray, to me, is, you know, I mean, a couple years ago when they traded for Machado and Dodgers, they sent over Dean Kramer, a guy that has some nice looking stuff, but the best case scenario for Josiah Gray is he's a number 3 pitcher in the big leagues. That's still good, mind you, but it's not great.
I'm a little higher on Gray because I've watched a decent amount of his stuff. I mean, the one stat that they've already brought up, his swing and miss rate is already 20%, which is just, I agree it's a small sample size, but that's very good already to be challenging major league hitters at this level already.
Well, it's still small, and I've seen, like I said, the other thing is there are certain prospects that I'm always wary about, and there's a lot of Dodger pitching prospects roaming around Major League Baseball that aren't very good. I can't think of one they gave up that's actually been a good player. There's a couple hitting prospects, but never a pitcher.
Yeah,
you know, the Jose De Leons and the Dean Kramers and the God, who they moved Danny Santana. Not Danny Santana, the other Dennis Santana. It's like, yeah. I just find it hard to believe that the Dodgers are so loaded at pitcher that their number 10 guy is something super special. They might be fine. They might be a big league pitcher. And there's a place in the world for the Mike Leakes, you know?
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. But yeah, you look. What do you think of the Dodgers pitching staff? Like it's like Kershaw and then Scherzer if the trade comes through. And then they got Duffy and they got Price and they got Bueller.
Goslin.
It's like, yeah, it's like they have just too many players. I actually don't fully understand the Dodgers trades in my own mind, because it's like they make this trade for if the trade goes through and they get Trey Turner, which is a great get. Don't get me wrong. You know, they got and there has been talk over the years that Corey Seager is a little bit large to play shortstop, and was probably going to move to third base some point in his career anyway. No big,
just like his brother.
No big deal. But you're sitting there. You got just Justin Turner under contract until next year. You got Max Muncy who plays second base. You got Gavin Lux who plays second base. There's really like no spot for Chris Taylor, who was an all-star this year.
Well, I think they're making up for Turner's bat's going to make up for Bellinger hitting 162 still, and Mookie Betts, who's a shell of his former self from the previous years. Not saying he can't regain it, but they need that bat in the lineup, and you can never have enough arms with the injuries we've been seeing this year. I love the trade.
No, I mean, no, yeah, they picked their pocket. I mean, that's like they got.
I think they got more. I think
the big thing is, Andrew, to me, that return would have been about good enough for Turner on his own. You know what I mean? That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
And they just threw in Max Scherzer. Now, Max Scherzer is a great pitcher, but you can buy into the fact that the price is down a little bit because it's only a 2-month rental. Correct. You know, but yeah, it's like he's that guy in your league that, you know, goes, well, I got this other guy I want to get rid of. Here you go. Andrea's in the chat room, so she probably will join us sometime in the not too distant future.
Well, my thing is, if you're the Nationals,
hello, Andy,
and the Padres. Oh wait, there's another trade. A's acquired Josh Harrison and Yan Gomes from the Nats.
Who was the first guy?
Harrison.
Josh Harrison.
Harrison and Yan Gomes went to the A's.
There's a lot of mix up in there. This is
the biggest trade deadline I think I remember since Randy Johnson went.
There was one about 6 years ago that had a lot of guys go, and I remember having to write that up for some site, and I'm going, wow, this just went on and on and on. But Josh Harrison to the A's. I'm a baseball fan, don't get me wrong, but I'm a Cub fan first, and then I'm a fantasy baseball player, so I tend to think in terms of the effects that these trades have, and I'm thinking to myself, going, they're leaving a lot of things empty behind. Like what's in Washington now? If they get rid of Josh Harrison,
well, they're going to build off of their pitching prospects that they have and that rotation that they want to do.
I'm thinking more just like who's going to play there that might be productive for the rest of the year. You know, I kind of like, and I think that this bodes well. Turner leaving and Harrison leaving. They have a 32-year-old outfield prospect named Yadiel Hernandez, and I kind of like him. But, you know, did you hear about, I mean, there's some other trades that have gone on. You hear what the Braves have done? They got both Eddie Rosario and from the Cleveland for Pablo Sandoval, and they got Adam Duvall from Miami.
Yeah, the Marlins didn't want to give up Duvall, and they got Alex Jackson, the backup catcher that the Dodgers actually or the Braves really, really like too. I'm a fan of Alex Jackson. I was a season ticket holder to the Fire Frogs, and I got to see him play a lot. Mm-hmm. He was a weird guy. He looked like the best hitter you've ever seen in days when he caught, but he doesn't have the skills to really catch on a big league level. That's what they say. And when they played him in the outfield or DH, he didn't hit as well. Yeah,
like there's something in his head. He looked really darn right awesome as a hitter when he was a catcher. That's like his natural, where he feels most comfortable. He's got the power to hit home runs in Marlins ballpark. I'll tell you that much. You know.
Well, I'm liking the trades that the Marlins have done the last couple of years. I mean, I'm a Red Sox fan from being down from South Florida. I mean, they got Chisholm last year, and they picked up Jesus Luzardo. That rotation next year, that's going to be a really, 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 really good rotation.
Yeah, it's like you get Rogers, Alcantara, Eliezer Hernandez, and then you have theoretically
Pablo Lopez,
Sixto Sanchez,
Cabrera.
They're Edmund Cabrera and now Jesus Luzardo. You know, I hope the other stuff works out.
Luzardo's probably the most talent. I think he's the most talented one out of the entire bunch, as far as pure talent goes.
There's a lot of talent there. That's a close call. I would probably go with somebody else, but he's in the discussion at least. You know.
I mean, I'm a Trevor Rogers fan, but Luzardo's stuff is good. I just think a switch went off, something just wasn't right. I don't think he's hurt because he's still averaging like 96 on the fastball, so I don't think there's a problem with him. And if you're going to pick an organization that develops pitchers, it's the Marlins.
Really?
Pablo Lopez. I didn't think Pablo Lopez would be the, impact, number 2 or number 3 starter.
Yeah, that's true. I'm gonna bring in Lenny Melnick, who some of you guys might know. How you doing, Mr. Melnick? It's wonderful.
Yeah, they should have this trading deadline every week. I think
that'd be a lot of
cool.
That would be fun.
That'd be a lot. Yeah,
I think it would be cool, and it's going against what is the NBA draft going on right now?
It was last night, wasn't it?
That was last night, and it also all those trades went down when Westbrook got traded to the Lakers. So it's been pretty insane 24 hours for sports as far as trades.
Yeah, it's good for sports, right? But I'm a little surprised. I understand the Mets just got Javier Baez, so whatever that means. Okay, that means we'll see. Maybe it'll spark Francisco Lindor when he comes back. Maybe Lindor will be a little bit more comfortable. He never really looked comfortable in that Met lineup, so maybe Baez will turn it around. Sometimes it's not just what they do on the field; it's what they do off the field. In the dugout and the whole thing. Because I remember a time where Cliff Floyd and Troy Percival were signed at the end of their careers by Tampa, and it made Tampa a contender just because of their leadership. So let's see what happens.
When Baez first came up with the Cubs, because of Addison Russell, he played second base, so they can find a way to get both in there, Lindor and Baez.
Yeah.
Doug, I know you love fantasy stats, and I know this is a fantasy show as much as anything. Found a stat yesterday. So Rizzo and Gallo went to the Yankees. If you put Gallo's home runs over on Yankee Stadium, his home run total's like 4 more. If you put Rizzo's home run total, if he would have been in Yankee Stadium, he's missing about 24 more home runs.
24? That is pretty crazy. I do know this about as a Cub fan, I love Rizzo. I love what he's done for the Cubs. No one will forget that he caught the last out of the World Series in 2016, but his capacity, his playing ability has diminished a little bit, and he's become sort of that the right field home run hitter. And it sort of doesn't make sense that I thought I saw that stat too, and I misread it. You said 24 more home runs. I thought he'd have 24 home runs.
No, he'd have 24 on top of. He'd have 24 more on top of what he would have now if he played in Yankee Stadium with the balls that he's hit this year.
Yankee Stadium made Didi Gregorius a cleanup hitter, so it could do much better for Rizzo.
Gallo, I can understand because Gallo hits 440, 430-foot home runs. But Rizzo has that power, but he does hit the 390, 380s, which plays well at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
So I just found that stat, and I was like, because I know Gallo's fantasy impact will go up, better lineup, probably more RBIs. He'll disappear at times, still a good bat, but Rizzo and that lineup.
When I heard Rizzo got traded to the Mets, to the Yankees, I was sort of hoping that we had got Luke Voit back in return. But hey, we got what we got. A pair of socks and a coupon to Bed Bath & Beyond. Here we go. We have a new person joining us. It's Mitch Harston wearing the Cubs hat.
Good afternoon, everybody. How you doing, Lenny? How are you?
He's the Washington fan. Take that hat off, Mitch. You're a Washington fan, right?
Okay, I'll get the Washington hat. Listen, Washington is a AAA team now.
Mm-hmm.
Barely a AAA team.
You think they're better than the Pirates?
If I'm a Washington fan, I like what we did because they didn't want to. Now traded the whole team.
I mean, that team is Southern Castro gone, Turner gone. Yeah, that's what a shell. The one thing you say for the Nationals, you can say for the Cubs, they were able to hold on and get a World Series championship in there. So it's not like they did it for nothing. And hopefully,
No, it was well
their
worth
future.
what they did. It was well worth what they did.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it looks like Chris Bryant's going to the San Francisco Giants, and that's what
I'm not.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's a
I
bad
am
thing.
not shocked at all because that's the only team in the division that didn't do anything.
Well, the team that surprises me the most for the lack of activity is the Philadelphia Phillies. I thought for sure they were going to get Craig Kimbrell. When you spend all that money on Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, and whoever else they spent their money on, they spent a ton of money with their new man with Dave Dombrowski hitting in his mid-60s. He wants to win now. I thought the Phillies were going to be big-time players, but apparently there's nothing. The only thing about the Phillies is that they could get Byron Buxton.
Yeah,
the other
Buxton. I think they're looking to move Buxton, and what's their other guy? The other big guy in their team, Donaldson. They're looking to move both of them.
Yeah, but Donaldson is just you're going to pay so much for such an injury-prone player. I don't think too many people are going to be on Donaldson.
Whoever trades for Donaldson's going to pay the rest of the contract, like the Yankees made the Rangers play for Gallo and the Cubs play for Rizzo. It's the only way you would take Donaldson.
Right.
I think the other thing about people who we haven't heard from is I thought that some of these teams that were really bad would have traded players like the Rockies and the Rangers. The Rangers have Ian Kennedy, Kyle Gibson, and they're really not playing for anything, and we haven't heard anything from them.
Okay, Kyle Gibson and Ian Kennedy are headed to Philadelphia, according to MLB.
Really? Cool.
I just saw a few minutes
I've seen
ago.
Gibson to Philadelphia. Yep. I know Story heated up, but then with the price of everybody else, that's kind of gone away. But I would not be shocked if Story snuck out in a trade here before the deadline.
The Rockies have reportedly dropped the asking price on Story. Hey, Doug, if I have to leave, I've got a contractor outside giving me an assessment. If I have to leave for a minute,
I have no problem. A little bit of housekeeping. Joe's here, but he's in his car, so he has no video.
That's fine.
But yeah, the plan is to be here till 4:30 or so. So if you need to step away for 10 minutes, that's fine. I probably will do it myself once.
Lenny, do you know what the hitch is? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
What's the hitch in the Dodger deal with the Nats? There is a hitch.
I don't know what the hitch is. I know that the Padres are still standing by, trying to swoop right in. But I don't know what the hitch is. It probably has to do with the extension. That's what I heard. The amount of years.
You think Scherzer's coming back now and wanting a guarantee of an extension before he approves it?
Oh, there's no question about it. He said that. And when they brought Scott Boras in to finalize things, that's when it got out of hand.
Well, we know what Scott's all about.
Trade.
Huh?
Say it out loud.
It's the Kyle Gibson trade was Spencer Howard went from Philadelphia to the Rangers, so they get a young starter for Gibson and Ian Kennedy, along with two other prospects going to Texas.
That's not bad for Texas. I'm okay
I thought
with it.
Spencer Howard was going to the Cubs for Kimbrell. I had heard that from a source, but all right, I was close. Spencer Howard was traded. That's all.
And Baez and Trevor Williams went to the Mets.
Really? I heard that they wanted Davis.
Yeah.
Davies, I mean.
No, Trevor Williams. Trevor Williams instead of Davies was the deal.
So you've got to move Baez to second base. How's that going to work out?
He was second base. He was a Gold Glove caliber second baseman when Russell was our shortstop in Chicago. Yeah, he's actually probably better at that position. It gives him more time to freelance, which is what he likes to do. You know, when you're at short, you have to release the ball quicker.
Michael Fulmer?
Michael Fulmer moved?
He's looking to be traded. There's a trade going through.
Okay, I'm being paged. I'll be right back.
That's fine.
Yeah, he's looking to be moved. God, I love Twitter. Twitter is so good for this.
No, it's. I mean, that's the big difference between now and 25 years ago. You know, we used to wait like listening to a radio station, hoping to get updates on this stuff. Nowadays, with Twitter, we get it almost as fast as the insiders do. Not quite as fast, but within 5 minutes.
Yeah,
you know,
that's what I'm trying to see. That's the one I'm looking for now, but they haven't said anything just yet.
So Kennedy is moved to Philadelphia. Lenny, you got any idea who's going to close in Texas now? When Ian Kennedy was injured, they had 4 guys try to close, and all of them blew their save.
Yeah.
So it's like that's a terrible spot. Plus, I have Ian Kennedy as Ian Kennedy could close in Philadelphia.
Maybe Ian Kennedy will close in Philadelphia.
Maybe having Ian Kennedy is that bad. I was worried about trying to fill in for that spot on my lineup. It may have improved.
Yeah, no, Ian Kennedy and, of course, Gibson, very iffy pitcher, but had a great season, so he'll be an addition there, too. But I'm still surprised. And we haven't heard the end of Byron Buxton yet. I think Minnesota has no choice but to trade Byron Buxton, so we'll see what happens. He turned down an extension opportunity, so I think the Phillies will be in there. But to answer your question about Texas, it's almost impossible to figure it out right now. But they got this kid Josh Saborts. Okay, whatever.
He actually did when Kennedy was injured. He actually got a save the day Kennedy came back. They decided not to pitch him because of the reintegration with COVID. It takes everybody one day, and so he did get a save once.
Smaller trade just went through. Jay half the Cardinals for Evan Sisk and John Gant.
Gant for half seems like a wash to me.
Yeah, well, it's money involved. Twins are including cash, so yeah. Try and offload.
So, I go back to the Rangers-Phillies deal. We can say today, Kyle Gibson's quest for the AL Cy Young ends.
No, he can still win it.
The other guys will pass him up. He was in the conversation, but with him being gone, he's done.
Well, who else is in the conversation for the AL Cy Young?
Who is?
AL Cy Young. Who? It's not Garrett Cole. Who could it be? So what do you think? The guy in Toronto, Robbie Ray? Is he in it? I know.
I think Robbie Ray should absolutely.
Will Carlos Rodon be the Cy Young Award winner? Will it be Lance Lynn?
Lance Lynn.
None of these guys have Cy Young credentials. It's just you got to pick the 3 of the best, but none of them are Cy Young Award people.
Well, they'd be following in the grand tradition of Rick Porcello.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah, it seems like most of them are. Nate Eovaldi is 9-5 with a 3.49 ERA. I'm just looking at these things real quick. Anybody we're forgetting? Your love for Freddie Peralta, but probably not enough time in. Giolito. Freddie Peralta, in that short span of time, has been pretty damn impressive.
Freddie Peralta
started all year.
He leads Major League Baseball in games where it's gone 7 innings and given up 2 or fewer hits. In Major League Baseball history. That is, okay? He did something.
He's been incredible this year.
Yes, he has.
And in reality, I'm just looking at it. It's like he's started 19 games, which is only 2 less than Garrett Cole, 1 less than Zach Wheeler. He's right up there. He's had a full season.
The AL is easy. It's Garrett Cole.
Garrett Cole for Cy Young? Come on, Joe. No way that's happening.
I'd vote for Lance Lynn first.
Hey, when your whip's under 1.
Well, maybe the guys who play fantasy baseball will vote for him, but that's about it.
Yeah, he's probably the first guy to be in New York and not benefit from the New York press. As far as it goes to these voting things, people have not benefited for other reasons. So
What's he got? Yeah, 176 Ks, 130 innings, 28 walks. He'd probably be my vote, and I'd be Robbie Ray number 2.
What about Lance Lynn? Lance Lynn's up there. He's doing pretty well.
yeah, I would do Lance Lynn 1.
Ray rotation together most of the year because Ryu struggled at times.
I think he's popping in and out because he's mobile. It happened once before for him, so just me and you, Lenny.
Okay, go get him. Anything else going on?
I was looking at, I mean, like I really was looking at like the replacement players in there. With the trade of Eddie Rosario to the Braves, the outfield position is going to be filled. They hit when Rosario was hurt. They played Oscar Mercado sometimes. They played Daniel Johnson sometimes in Cleveland.
Yeah,
I like Daniel Johnson. Am I wrong to think that he's going to win this thing out, or do you like Oscar Mercado better?
Well, Johnson's a left-handed hitter. Mercado's a right-handed hitter. Zimmer's in there. Harold Ramirez I really like. And now with I wouldn't be shocked if Amar Rosario went back to the outfield. Wouldn't be shocked if that happened. Okay?
I was looking with the first trade Cleveland did when they moved Cesar Hernandez, right?
Yeah.
And the thing that came to mind was, who was the other guy that they got from the Mets? Ahmed Rosario and Andres Jimenez.
Andres Jimenez. Yeah.
It's like, but Jimenez is really struggling in the minors. They actually had.
I didn't think he was struggling. I thought he was doing okay.
He's hitting sub 200.
Oh, well, then he's struggling.
Yeah,
You're right.
And the other guy was before the season. They didn't think he was the greatest prospect ever, but one of the guys that was always mentioned with Cleveland as being like really ready to play was Nolan Jones, the third baseman.
That's right.
And they have the flexibility of moving Jose Ramirez to second. He's played there before, but Nolan Jones is hitting like 219 or something. It's like, I think that team's just going to be a bad hitting team for the rest of the way, and we're going to wind up seeing more of Yu Cheng and who's the Clement, Ernie Clement.
You know, one of the good things about going to the Arizona Fall League, we saw Nolan Jones play third base. And I got to tell you, he really looked terrific. And when I say I saw him, I didn't see him for an inning or a game. We saw him play like 7 or 8 games at third base. We go there for a month, and this kid's a player.
He's also like 20. He just turned 25 this year, so he's a little bit older prospect. Maybe Cleveland, as a seller, brings him up and lets him play just to see how he does at the big league level.
I'm sure that's going to happen. No doubt.
And we'd say that he's somebody we should watch, maybe pick up in deeper leagues.
Absolutely.
Hey, Lenny, do you like my hat better?
There you go.
It says something champs.
Do you think I'll still be alive for the next Nats championship?
Next Nats championship.
They've had one, right?
I said for the next one.
I was saying the Cubs winning the thing. It's like, it kind of sucks they're tearing it apart, but I tweeted this out. The truth is, this is the second best era to be a Cub fan in history. And in the first time, they didn't have indoor toilets.
You know that I paid $700 for 2 tickets and the game got rained out when I was in Chicago. Now they tell me I can go again if I want to fly back to Chicago in September.
Yeah, that sounds like them.
Why would the Oakland Athletics want Josh Harrison?
Josh Harrison has a lot of value, being that sort of, he can hit, he can play like 5 positions. You know, that's a guy that a team that was in, any team that's in the playoff hunt would want to fill in a guy like that. He's not a regular starter, but he hits well enough. He hits as if he's one.
Do you know who the Nats got back for Gomes and Harrison?
No,
I didn't see that. But when you talk about why would they want Josh Harrison, we're thinking fantasy baseball.
Yeah.
In Major League Baseball, it's a whole different ballgame. You know, he plays all the positions and does it very well, and he's an adequate hitter. Any team in the playoff hunt would go for him.
Okay, you're right.
I'm going. Yeah, but we do tend to get so fixated on our fantasy teams that we We don't think about the other part.
Well, Hosea Gray in the preseason top 50 prospects, I think, was 37, and Ruiz was 39.
I don't think the return for Harrison Gomes has been announced yet.
Okay.
It's probably minor leaguers.
Yeah. So does Kennedy become the closer in Philadelphia? I was getting real happy with Ranger Suarez.
No, it's going to be Kennedy. That's why they got him.
Kennedy every chance he's got to be the closer wherever he's been good. And there's not a lot of guys you can say that about. The only real knock on Kennedy this year was the lack of save opportunities that Texas gave you. And there's not a lot of guys you can say that. And he was hurt for 17 days. All that noise is coming from Joe. I'm gonna mute him.
Noise is coming from me?
I think so. I'm just gonna mute you for a second. Oh, the echo's coming from somewhere else.
It's coming from me. I'm getting
Hello.
Yeah, I did. I heard that twice, Lenny, when you said that.
better.
I muted Lenny for a second. It was coming from him. But anyway, we're just here to talk baseball, so I think everybody can get over a little bit of technical problem.
Repetition is a good learning principle, Douglas.
Soap.
This has got to be, Lenny, you've been around for a while. Have you ever seen a bigger trading deadline bonanza than this?
Actually, I don't recall that. What I do remember, though, many times, if you could hear me, am I still on muted?
We hear you.
We can hear you.
Is that we should wait a little bit just because it ends at 4 o'clock. Sometimes trades aren't announced until a little after 4 o'clock. So I'm still shocked that some of these guys are still on their teams, haven't been traded. But yeah, I do believe that, and notoriously, the trading deadline the last couple of years has been disappointing, just like the winter meetings have been disappointing. But this year it's been pretty good.
Do you think that the fact that they did away with the waiver wire movements in August has affected this? I do.
Absolutely. There's no question. You want to make a team, you got to make it today, and that's it.
Or else, shut up.
That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
So I think part of the CBA negotiations, I think they're going to do away with the 5 and 10 rule as well. So I think that'll also initiate more trading.
Okay.
Who are some of the guys that you're still looking to see trades from? See being traded, Lenny.
Who are some of the guys? Pineda is one. I can't believe Jonathan Scope wasn't traded.
Yeah,
that's for sure. I can't believe he wasn't traded. Still the rumors that Philadelphia is going after Byron Buxton. So I think those are the three top guys.
Trevor Story probably is in there too.
Well, the Trevor Story, but they have to weigh if they believe they can get something better than the compensation pick, then they'll keep him. People say, well, he's a free agent. With all the trades that were made, you got to believe that, the compensation pick is not bad. And some of these prospects that went in these trades really are a toss-up. So perhaps Story will stick around. C.J. Cron, I thought for sure was going to go, but I know he's not 100% healthy. He has no place to play in Colorado. Those are the big guys that I thought would go.
Yeah, well, when they got Tellez, Lenny, you've been saying that Crone should go to Milwaukee, and you were right.
Well, okay.
But the thing is, once they got Tellez,
that took care of that, right?
Who is not C.J. Cron, by the way, but he's doing pretty well. He really is.
I think he's a pretty good C.J. Cron comp. I mean, comp's a power hitter that doesn't hit for good average. I think Tellez probably has a
Yeah.
little less power, but he's got a better chance hitting 250.
Well, what they've done, Doug, is they put him in the lineup and left him there and stopped and didn't squirrel around with him.
Which guy?
Tellez.
Yeah.
That would give a hitter confidence, not to be yanked in and out every day. I read somewhere a rumor that Gavin Lux was a player to go to Kansas City as a player to be named later, but I don't believe it.
I was shocked that Gavin Lux didn't head back to Washington in the
They should have demanded. They should have demanded
in the Turner deal, because who's going to play shortstop going forward in the future? At least you have your guy there.
They should have demanded Gavin Lux.
What does this say? I'm looking at the comments in the Facebook chat room. We just put this over. Do you think that teams will start using openers or piggybacking pitchers? It seems pitchers only go 4 or 5 innings. It's not a trade thing, but yeah, I mean, you see that when they need to, and the idea of an opener works out better than we actually all probably thought before they're having. And the same guy says this: you're providing better analysis than the MLB channel. Thank you, William E.
Well, I will tell you, the MLB channel, and I was watching it for a little while today, it's so vanilla. It's just too vanilla. I can't watch it. Too vanilla. The people that they have on there are very good, but it's almost like they're instructed not to say anything negative about a player.
They can't. They're employees of MLB.
And let's face it, the most entertaining part of any radio show or anything that you're watching on TV is when somebody says something negative and spikes it up a little bit.
Like such and so manager is an a-hole. Who would do that?
That's why, to me, the most boring guest you can have would be a player. Well, he's got a real fine team. We got a real good ball club.
They are,
right?
Well, everything's looking up. My swing is better.
That's
Andrea just posted Buxton to Padres. Let's see if we can verify that.
Buxton to the Padres, huh? Hey, why don't you tell me that so I can break it? Oh man.
It might be a rumor. It might be. Let's see. That's 1 hour ago.
Buxton to the Padres. That you talk about a team that doesn't need him, right?
Yeah, I was talking about how I thought the other trade they did was sort of overkill.
Giants and the Rockies are continuing to discuss Trevor's Story. So the Giants are in on Bryant or Story, either one, without a doubt.
I think the Buxton thing is just a rumor. I'm not 100% sure.
Well, the Rockies are lowering the asking price on Story now. It's what I heard.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Can you repeat that, please?
The Giants, according to what I saw in a tweet or something, I'm sorry, the Rockies are lowering the asking price on Trevor's Story. It's now turning into Filene's basement.
I mean, that's one of the bigger problems of managing the Colorado Rockies team is that when you trade a player, you have to trade him a little below what you think he's worth, because everybody's going to get marked down a little bit by the stadium.
It's being reported now that the Scherzer deal is complete, so no more hanging on onto that thing. That trade has been completed, and I think the trades have to be completed by 4 o'clock. They don't have to be reported at 4 o'clock, but they've got to be they've got to be no more negotiation by 4 o'clock. That's it. Everything stops.
Can you do medical checks after 4 o'clock?
That's the one thing I think can be after 4 is you can still.
I think you can agree to a trade in principle by 4 o'clock and have more time to do the medical checks.
Right. That makes sense.
Yes, she said Passan had the Buxton Story. Passan has the Scherzer deal being finalized. So there we go. Scherzer, that team has a lot of pitching and a lot of infielders. The Dodgers do. And they still have, so Gavin Lux is done. He has no fantasy value now.
Gavin Lux winning that deal?
It wasn't.
No, he's got no playing time, I think is what Doug is saying.
Yeah, it's like
okay.
If Seager comes back, they got to find
Gonna
room
go
for a
second.
Turner. They have to find room for two Turners,
Right.
a Muncy, a
Mhm.
Seager.
Yep.
There's just not enough space on infield.
You can drop your Luke Fraley stock.
Horner has played, not that Horner. Trey Turner has played outfield, so maybe that eats in that way. But that's a team with too many players.
But that guy apparently is a real jerk. What kind of a ball player publicly says when he's on his way to LA that I don't want to play for a West Coast team? Duh.
I mean, the timing of the release of that statement is one thing, but he may have said that during the negotiations, and it came out at the wrong time. A player has the right to have preferences. It does kind of suck to hear in that as he's moving, you hear that came out, but it wasn't like he heard he got traded. He did a press conference saying, "I don't want to go to LA."
Well, the Nationals have $400 million plus tied up in Corbin and Strasburg. That's the good news.
And Strasburg has
He'll never pitch again.
thoracic outlet surgery. Well,
Lenny, do you know of any starting pitchers that have come back from thoracic outlet?
There's one.
Outlet syndrome.
There's one. Merrill Kelly.
Yeah, the Met pitcher, right?
No, it's the Diamondbacks. Merrill Kelly has. Matt Harvey came back, but he hasn't been very good. But Merrill Kelly's actually come back and been at least as good as he was.
I didn't know Merrill Kelly had it. Okay, that's good.
But up until him, the answer was none. So yes, It's very new. He's the one, and the truth is, he was never a superstar. I don't think you're going to see the Strasburg we could have known post surgery, but it doesn't mean he couldn't have a career.
Strasburg's only pitched about 26 innings
in 2 years.
Since he signed that big contract, right?
No, that's 20 and 21, Lenny.
Yeah.
He signed the contract. Oh, did he sign it before the 20? You may be right.
Yeah, I think so. I saw Strasburg in the Arizona Fall League when he first came up, and he had security around him. He did not want to talk to anybody. Anytime he was on the field, he wore a jacket so nobody could see his name on the back of his shirt or his number, and real character.
I don't think that I ever remember getting hyped about somebody's debut and then watching it and then it paying off than Steven Strasburg's debut, that 10 strikeout game versus the Pirates.
Also, it looks like the White Sox are having ongoing discussions with the Cubs about Chris Bryant. So let's see about that one. Now, I don't know if that's
weird. That's weird.
The Cubs can't trade all these. They can't move all these players to the south side. Those fans will obliterate them.
Last time, the Cubs and the White Sox notoriously haven't traded very often, but a long, long time ago, we acquired Sammy Sosa from the White Sox.
That's true.
I'll tell you one thing about, we were just raving about Twitter. You got to be very careful. Very careful.
Yeah, you're right.
Everybody comes out of the woodwork with all these breaking news. A source tells me. So we'll see. Okay.
Well,
Jeff Passan just came out with something, but I don't know if it's the real Jeff Passan account. It's Trevor Story to the Cardinals is being finalized. So they're looking to reunite Arenado and Story in St. Louis. How about that one?
That's that. The Cardinals. That's a good. You know what, Lenny? I like that for the Cardinals. I do like that for the Cardinals. They're going nowhere fast.
Well, they have to do something because they went with all the youngsters again for the second year. Carlson's coming on, but without Flaherty, they really don't have a chance. And I'm still surprised that the Mets did so little. I thought they would, but and of course the Phillies with their two moves, they kind of bailed themselves out. Is there any team, Mitch, that you thought that hasn't made a move that you expected them to make? Let's see. You know who I thought? I really wondered Baltimore. If I wondered if they would trade Trey Mancini. Obviously,
Yes,
they're not.
yes, they would, but it'd be steep. The Giants haven't made a move yet, Lenny, have they?
No, not that.
Yeah, I expected the Giants to make
That's a
a
good
couple of
one.
moves.
That's right. The Giants with Chris Bryant. Okay, so we'll see if that happens. I'm beginning to think that Chris Bryant White Sox thing. I'm looking at the Twitter feed. It's a bunch of bull dinky and poppycock. So
Yeah,
I'm not looking at that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree with you, but I think these prospects. Their other two prospects the Dodgers got are Geraldo Carrillo and Donovan Casey. They could be a secret to that deal. You never know. I can't get over the fact that the Atlanta Braves traded a guy named Doyle Alexander
Yep.
to
Remember
the
that
Detroit Tigers. I know Lenny Mellick's one guy who will remember this.
one?
For one John Smoltz.
That's right.
Who the hell is John Smoltz?
One of the great trades of all time, right? That's true. So we'll see, but we'll see about that. So
I
the
told
Dodger
him.
payroll now. Now, well, I spoke about this on the podcast this morning. The Dodger payroll is about 275 million.
I almost hope they lose. I hate it.
Now, I know that history of baseball, it's one of the things that made the Yankees the hated team. That the Yankees would go out and it appeared that they would just get any player that they wanted. And it made a lot of people really hate the Yankees. So do you think it's good for baseball when you have a Dodger payroll that is higher than you could probably put 4 or 5 teams put their payrolls in, wouldn't equal the Dodgers? Or do you think that it makes it more exciting rooting for the underdogs to beat the Dodgers? Now take a look at Tampa, right? Take a look at Tampa.
I will tell you, the general manager of Tampa deserves to be paid 3 times what the 7 general managers of the Dodgers are paid because they get similar results with a $65 to $70 million payroll. Right. They're the geniuses.
That's
not
pretty
LA,
cool.
Not LA.
That is pretty cool.
all they're doing in LA is buying the championship. That's all they're doing.
There's a lot of pressure if they don't win the championship now. But look, with Kershaw and Bueller and Scherzer, that's a pretty good in a playoff series.
What if Bauer comes back? What if they say Bauer? What if they say Bauer? You went to confession and you're all good to go, and they bring Bauer back.
Speaking of bringing Bauer back,
that they're counting on negating Bauer's contract somewhere down the road.
They should. They should.
I haven't heard anything about that.
No, they should.
His hearing was postponed for another week or so.
Right.
Okay, but it appears to me, based on the Dodger moves, that I don't think they're counting on paying Bauer his salary.
They shouldn't.
In a similar vein, a news that kind of went under the radar today was Marcell Ozuna's charge was dropped to a misdemeanor today after they reviewed the camera footage. So that means Ozuna will probably be back as a baseball player at some point.
Interesting. And they just got Adam Duvall back, right?
They should have never let him go.
I'll tell you, I picked up in Tout Wars, last week, I picked up Magneuris Sierra and Brinson, both Miami guys, really thinking that both Duvall and Marte would both be traded. I was right. So now all they have to do is perform now. It's a National League only. So
well, I'm going to rush out in the Lenny Melnick second half league and pick up Pablo Sandoval.
Go ahead.
You do that.
I think we've already seen the best of him.
Is that the dumbest trade we've seen the entire trading period?
I think it was really just about the money.
Rosario's owed $7 million and Sandoval's owed $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the dumbest trade. That's got to be one of the dumbest trades I've ever seen. Because Eddie Rosario is he's going to help Atlanta, in my opinion.
What was the dumbest trade you've ever seen? How about Who was the player who was traded for himself?
There have been a couple. There
Traded
was
He was
there was
traded for himself.
he was a really good fielding shortstop for Toronto. I'm trying to remember his
How can you
name.
be traded for yourself?
He
Well,
was
you get
a
traded.
catcher for the. It was Harry Cheedy, who was traded for a player to be named later, and he was the player to be named later. Harry Cheedy, Chiti. I know you know his name, Mitch. You've heard him.
I walked up to Ned Coletti in the baseball meetings in Maryland. I said, "Hey, Mr. Coletti, I like that trade you made of Milton Bradley for Andre Ethier."
how
He
about
started
that?
laughing. That was a good trade.
The guy I was thinking
Yeah.
was the shortstop John McDonald, who was traded for himself.
Oh, really? He was too, huh? Another old time great trade was when Joel Youngblood was traded during the day,
Yes.
joined the team he was traded to at night, and played in the game and got a hit. But the trade the other day, I forget who they were, between Tampa and where the player, I forget the player, who was just traded just the other day. He was taking batting practice for one team. He got called into the dugout of the other team, changed his uniform, went out and took batting practice for the other team in the same day, same game. I forget who the player was, but he was just recently traded and hit a home run. Okay,
We had
it
was
was
that
the Astros against.
it was Abraham Toro.
Yeah, right. It was the Astros against Toronto, I believe. All right, and
Yeah.
he took batting practice for both. Took batting practice in the jersey of both teams. Crazy.
I think that Dodgers trade that went through the Dodgers getting Scherzer and getting Turner for very little. That's one of the worst trades I've seen.
Well, very little is Ruiz is supposed to be pretty good, and I mean I don't know. Look, at this point, it seems pretty little.
It's a lot of
Nothing's
supposed to be's.
nothing's going to be worse than the Tyler Glasnow deal. I'll tell you that right now. Right?
That's absolutely right.
I predict right now that the trade for Trey Turner will be worse than the Tyler Glasnow deal.
You think so? All right. We'll see about that.
Well, when Mike Rizzo got Trey Turner for basically Steven Souza, that's one of the best trades in baseball history.
Yeah, they kind of subverted.
San Diego, what did San Diego get in that deal? Souza went to Tampa. What did San Diego get? I can't remember.
Didn't they get Will Myers?
You might be right. I don't know. I can't remember.
But the weird thing about that deal was Turner, under the rules and the bargaining agreement, couldn't be traded for 60 days or something because he was just drafted.
Right.
So they agreed in principle, and he was the player to be named later. So even though they knew he was going to be a Nationals player, he still trained with the Padres for 2 months.
So it was Baez and Trevor Williams for Pete Crow Armstrong.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry. It just sounds like a funny name, but I never heard of him. So.
He is among the. I was on a board at the beginning of the season, and these guys are talking about some guy being super awesome, and he's so super awesome that they have the nickname, and they call him PCA. And I had to swallow my pride and go, "Who is PCA?" And they said Pete Crow Armstrong. So apparently he's something that people like.
Maybe. Here's
Like
another one. According to Mark Berman of MLB, the Astros trade Miles Straw. Big disappointment. A lot of us thought Miles Straw would steal 50 bases this year, fastest man in baseball. Traded to the Cleveland Indians in exchange for Phil Maton, the right-handed pitcher, Maton, whatever his name is. So that's an interesting deal.
Who the hell's going to play center field for Houston?
For Houston?
Who's going to play center field for Houston?
That's a good question.
That's a good question. I would take the position that, I don't know about how these, you got Straw, you got Tucker, you got Michael Brantley. I don't know if he could play. McCormick is out there. Bregman's coming back, so he'll be back at his position at third. So look, they got McCormick, they got Brantley, and they got Tucker. So that's what they got.
I don't think it'd be Brantley, even though he's a pretty good fielder with his age. But yeah, probably Tucker.
Yeah, I would say Tucker's having a better year than I thought. When I saw him, I was one of those who argued that, and even the Astros took the position that they'd like to change his swing. He looks very awkward at the plate, but the reason they didn't change his swing was because he kept putting up good numbers, so they didn't feel that it was right to change him. But he's coming along. All right. Wouldn't be surprised if the Astros get Byron Buxton, and he could be the center fielder, right?
That deal may be underway.
They still got time. Byron
Yeah.
Buxton could be going to the Astros. So let's see. And I haven't seen that. I'm just calling that myself. See if that.
I'm going to say you're onto something because you don't trade your center fielder without some plan.
That's pretty good. Yep.
So I imagine it'd be looking through it. Chas McCormick probably makes sense.
Let's look for Buxton to go to the Astros. See if that happens.
I hope not. They're already too good.
If that happens, then we're better than MLB.
Pete Crow Armstrong was drafted in the first round with the 19th pick overall, and in the complex league, in 6 games, 32 plate appearances, he's hitting .417 with a 563 OBP. Joe is trying to come back. Hey, Joe.
Yep, I'm back. Just had 2 more.
Still driving
trips
around?
go down.
What do you want to talk about now?
Yeah, we got a business meeting. Well,
Andrew Heaney? And we lost him.
Andrea's coming on. Look at this.
That's good. Bring it on.
Are you on?
No, that's just me playing with the.
Oh, I see.
With the
Can
comments.
you guys hear me now?
Yeah. What was the trade?
Yeah. Andrew Heaney just went to the Yankees.
All right. Good trade for the Yankees.
Yeah.
And the Astros just got his first name, but reliever Maton from the Indians just went to the Astros.
Okay, I think
another reliever.
Yeah, he went for Miles Straw.
Yeah, another reliever.
He went for Miles Straw.
What did you say?
He went for Miles Straw in that trade. Maton goes for Miles Straw.
MLB is
That's not a bad
reporting.
trade for the Indians.
In our chat room, there's a guest named Rochelle. Said that Merrill Harston is guest Rochelle. She didn't sign in. He didn't sign in. MLB reporting long injured Corey Seager is going to make comeback the minute the Washington-LA trade is finalized, and is going to be in the starting lineup at his position, shortstop, in time to beat Trey Turner's arrival of the Dodgers.
Sounds good to me. It's amazing how fast you can heal when they trade for another shortstop.
No, Seager was due. Andrea asks, does the extra Turner mean Seager's not healthy? Seager was due to return any day now, anyhow. I've had him on a team or two, and I've been waiting. It seems like every day I read an update, it says any day now, and it's been that way for 2 weeks. I think that Seager is nearing health.
Okay.
Hey, Joe, you're the prospect guy, sort of, right?
Can you hear me?
Tell me what you know about Pete Crow Armstrong.
Oh, I'm a prospect guy, yeah.
What do you think of him?
Who is it?
Pete Crow Armstrong.
What's the prospect name?
His last name is hyphenated, Crow Armstrong. I was wondering if you knew something. He was a guy being talked up in some.
I'm going through my memory bank.
Is it outfielder for the Mets? Anyway, well,
Funny
nothing.
story that I'm hearing
I
on
don't think I know
Twitter.
enough about him.
That's fine. We got a funny story from you, Lenny?
Funny story that I'm reading on Twitter. Daniel Bard was warming up in the outfield for the Colorado Rockies, and he sprinted to the dugout into the clubhouse. All the writers are now talking about Daniel Bard was just traded. He comes out and says, "What are you guys doing? I just had to go to the bathroom." Now I remember, the winter meetings were so lacking of activity, and this is true. I spoke to somebody whose name I will not mention, but he's a prominent he's a prominent tout, as we will say. Okay, he's a prominent guy in the field of touting trades and all that stuff. He was at the winter meetings. He told me, because these guys who are here are getting paid, okay, and value that they are making up stories because there was absolutely nothing going on. So they don't have to do that at the trading deadline now, but it happens at the winter meetings.
I can see that. You gotta report something. So you just
Yep. If you see two general managers in the elevator together, you make up a trade, and that's what they were doing. It's unbelievable. That's where they had Noah Syndergaard going to the Yankees. If you remember that.
Joe, when is Bobby Witt going to come up?
Yeah, he's having technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Okay.
Witt's not far off. Yeah, I can imagine probably sometime in August, right? Which is just a day away. That's what I was thinking.
That's okay. But they didn't trade Merrifield. What time is it? It's 5 minutes to 4.
They got about 5 minutes to go in this thing. Admittedly, some things will probably be reported after the fact.
Yeah, the reports are that Kansas City's holding on to Merrifield. That's what they.
Here's another dumb trade. This goes to the top of the list. Cardinals get J.A. Happ for
John Gant.
Yeah.
Insists.
Really? Really? Can you be that dumb? John Gant's got some upside.
Really? I actually think that Happ's the better pitcher, but they're both not very good.
No
John
way.
Gant's the answer to a great genius of the day question that nobody got on Sirius Radio when I put it out there for 3 hours. Name the pitcher who's walked the most players in Major League Baseball this year, and it was John Gant. But
yeah, he looked like, if you looked at his stats the first couple of months of the year, he had like a really good record and a pretty good ERA, but his WHIP was almost as high as his ERA, and you're like, that can't hold up. He had like a 2.30 ERA and a 1.75 WHIP. He's not a good pitcher. He was pretty effective as a reliever for the Cardinals, but as a starter,
he was pretty effective.
What are you doing?
Go ahead.
So, still nothing on Chris Bryant. Still nothing on Trevor Story.
Bryant to San Francisco.
That's what happened? Okay,
Jeff
good.
Passan just reported.
All right. Now we're just waiting for Trevor Story.
That's a team that the Giants really – well, I guess they do have prospects now. The Giants have been historically a bad minor league grouping, but they've improved greatly in the last 3 years. So maybe we get something back in Chicago.
Well, do the Cubs have anybody left to trade? I think the Cubs are competing with the Nats to have a minor league team.
Wilson Contreras is the guy I'm kind of shocked they didn't trade. They've been talking about that for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this, okay? Here we are. We have basically, what do we got? 2 months remaining in the Major League Baseball season. We have teams that started the season torn down, Pittsburgh and who's the other team? Certainly the Pirates have been terrible. Is this good for baseball now for teams to be trading away their entire team? I'm not sure if this is in the best interest of the game. What do you guys think?
I don't think it is. I understand a sell-off, Lenny. There's a difference between a sell-off in breaking your whole team up and starting over. I can understand trading a couple of players that are going to walk on you, but I can't understand. Now, Trey Turner was probably going to walk, but they had another year of control on Trey Turner.
Yeah, well, arbitration. So expensive control because he was making $13 million this year, and it was going to go up.
Yeah,
That's what I actually think that when it comes to me as a fan of a team, I want to have the ideally your team would win everything or be good, but if it can't be good, you want to know that it's trying. And I think that what the Nationals did, what the Cubs did today, seems to be like they're doing what's best for them for the future of that team. And as a fan of the team, I got to go, hey, I love Baez, I love Rizzo, I love Bryant. My third wife said Chris Bryant was beautiful. But what they're putting together isn't too bad. Pete Crow Armstrong, I like Bryce Ball.
well, they got Nick Madrigal.
Here's the big deal. Here's the big deal we've all been waiting for. Okay, with 2 minutes left, Jake Marisnick goes to San Diego. Oh, I thought he was already there already this year.
No, he was
Jake Marisnick.
Jay, that's
From
the
the
big
Cubs.
deal. That's the big deal of the day. Just happened.
I thought you were going to say Buxton went to the Phillies.
No. So I take my glasses off. That means no more trades.
I wonder what the Cubs got back for Chris Bryant. Better have gotten Joey Bart.
They have a number of good prospects, especially the Giants have done very well on the international side, not so much in the draft.
I guarantee they didn't get Helio Ramos.
Well, yeah, Bart and Helio came from the draft.
Who's playing in Richmond right now, by the way.
But they had some pretty good signings. I'm going to go look them up because I am excited to find out what they got from San Francisco because they did, I think, pretty well in these other moves, except for the Rizzo one. That's kind of
I say the over-under is about 60-40. Anthony Rizzo comes back to the Cubs over the winter.
So now with the Mets getting Baez, who's going to play at Lindor, where does Jeff McNeil play?
Third base.
I know Davis is not a great fielding third baseman, but his offensive numbers were as good as many It was as good as Chris Bryant's offensively. Third base, he has no range, but this McNeil was really built up, and I don't think he's that good. Excuse me.
on the bright side. Unlike going into the season where you looked at that team being Francisco Lindor, the only guy who could field any position.
Hello.
Having
The general announcement that all student loan payments have been suspended until the end of September.
Oh, good. My student loan payment was suspended. All right. Holy mackerel! That's pretty good.
I get that garbage all day long, Lenny.
Well, I'll tell you, if you want to I have a lot of fun with it. I actually look forward to those calls. I ask these people, what city are you calling from? And they give me a city, Atlanta, LA, whatever.
Mumbai.
And then I ask them what time it is, and they have no clue. And sometimes they're 3 or 4 hours off. It's really pretty funny. All right. Anything else going on?
I was trying to look for the oh, that's the guy I was trying to think of. There was a picture in the Seth Corey and the Giants. I'm not saying he's part of the trade, but I'd love to see the real problem that the Cubs ran through this time when they were good was they didn't really have a lot of pitching. If they could have a little more pitching, I would feel better about them.
Kenny Rosenthal just reported there will be no Byron Buxton trade. So that's done.
I don't blame the Twins on that. They don't need to get rid of everything.
Right.
And the Angels waited too long to put Raziel Iglesias out there. How didn't they wait 2 minutes to 4 to announce he was available?
No, he was announced available. Also, Mark Feinstein says that Trevor Story will remain with the Rockies. Okay, he'll receive a qualifying offer, and they'll get a draft pick and that'll take care of that. So the Rockies could not trade Trevor Story. They waited too late. If they would have traded him earlier in the year, they would have got a bundle for him.
He wasn't having that great of a year.
Freddie Galvis goes back to the Phillies. Here's another one for you. Okay, Phillies making their move, right? I'm
Well, who
surprised
they-
Cincinnati didn't do anything. You know, Cincinnati is.
Well, they got Michael Gibbons.
Yeah, he struck out the side the other day on 11 pitches.
He could end up the closer, Lenny.
Very well. Heath Hembry, and I'll tell you something. If Andrew is listening, I am the only fantasy. You know, I pat myself on the back every once in a while, like 12 times a day. But Heath Hembry, who was the #1 draft pick of the San Francisco Giants out of Rice University 10 years ago, I touted him as the closer this year in Cincinnati.
You did, I remember that.
Yes, I did. And sure enough, there he was. So between Heath Hembry and the revitalization of Ahmad Rosario, those were my two big picks. I also said that the Yankees would trade Aaron Judge. I think they'll do that in the offseason.
Yeah, Hunter Dozier didn't work out quite like that.
No, you remember that one, right? Thank you.
You know I'm going to let you get away with that.
Thank you. There's always one guy in the crowd. All right.
You know,
There's one asshole in every crowd.
There you go.
I've been doing this in a way that's been recorded now for 3 consecutive years. And the crazy thing is, I've gotten a lot of calls right. I don't remember any of them. I remember all the really bad calls. That's all that's sticking in my head.
Yep.
So I don't usually tell myself because it's like, oh, yeah, I said that guy. Yeah.
Well, you see, I've taken the position more than once that if you make a statement like Ahmad Rosario is going to be the best sleeper pick of the year, and I'd also said Max Scherzer was going to be traded, but that wasn't such a big deal because that was almost obvious. But you make a prediction like that, if it comes true, nobody will forget about it. If it doesn't come true, nobody will remember it.
That was as a stockbroker, that was always the rule. Like, you could just make calls. People don't remember the ones you got wrong, unless, of course, they put money in it.
That's right. Byron Buxton, Michael Pineda, Josh Donaldson. According to Mark Feinstein, they're all sticking with Minnesota. So don't look for any last-minute announcements.
See, I kind of like what the Twins are doing. After watching the Cubs and the Nats, I'm not all this turned on by breaking your whole team up. I'm really not.
And
now,
they got a
you
nice
want to read between the lines, the only player that the Twins haven't mentioned who's staying with them is Max Kepler. So
well, the Yankees were talking to them about Kepler until they got Gallo.
Yeah. So when they're talking about all these guys who were staying, and they don't mention Kepler's name, there's a possibility that he might not be staying, but nothing yet.
When Shohei Ohtani hit his 37th home run, he became the all-time single-season home run leader for people born in the Eastern Hemisphere, passing Max Kepler.
That's pretty fantastic, right?
Yeah, he had 36, and he was born in Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what, Lenny? You said something that I let slip by, and I think you were 100% on the mark. I'm not sure the compensation picks when you keep somebody aren't a better deal than you taking a chance on a prospect. Because you get the pick, right? When you get a compensation pick,
you get the pick, and they're prospects.
Choose the player, right?
Yeah, but you're talking about picks that are put in depending on where you are in the cap. They're either put in after the first round or after the second round if you're over the cap.
Still pretty high.
I mean, how many?
It's 60 players, and you get to pick a player. There's a lot of good players.
I think I would rather go to a team. I'd rather be the Rockies with Trevor Story going to Houston or whatever team it is. Say, let me pick a player from your minor league system where I know more about them.
You're right.
Even if it is whatever, like the player we got back for Rizzo.
Well, there's a bigger data set. You're right. If it's somebody that's been around for a while.
Now, if it was an early pick, that'd be a different story. But those early picks aren't moving because the early picks don't go to the teams that are in the playoffs. Yeah. And the compensation picks, because it was the last time you saw a draft pick included in a Major League Baseball trade. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Is there any one of these guys between Passon and Nightingale and Sherman and Heyman? Is there any one guy that jumps off the page as a tout that you don't trust?
Heyman.
It is Heyman.
I trust them all about 95%.
I was in
Rosenthal is the best. That's been my experience.
My partner Irwin Zwilling and I did a labor draft many years ago, and after the draft, we went to a ball game the next day, and we're standing on the field. John Heyman, this is 100% true. Give you my word. John Heyman standing behind us. I turned over to Irwin and I whispered to him, I just heard Mattingly's going to St. Louis. Now, we were on a TV show called Penn and Chase and This Week in Baseball, so we could have been recognized. The next day in John Heyman's column, I give you my word, 100%, as my father's looking down on me, Heyman had Mattingly to St. Louis.
Is that right?
That's right. And about 2 years ago, Irwin went to Yankee Stadium, saw John Heyman, went up to him, said, I know you don't remember me, blah, blah, blah. Heyman said, I don't remember you per se, but I did learn a lesson that day, I remember.
Oh, really?
Yes, he did.
Oh,
He
okay.
acknowledged it to Irwin, not to me. He acknowledged it to Irwin.
Blue Jays to acquire Joakim Soria.
How do you like that? Right after they got Brad Hand, that means nothing.
Well, the one thing about Brad Hand that I thought he was a decent closer, but he is a lefty, and sometimes lefties just you kind of like to have a righty for every now and then.
Yep.
And if you're going to go with lefty closer, if you're coming up against like ninth inning, the Boston Red Sox row of Devers, Bogarts, and Martinez, maybe you put Soria in. Maybe you put Romano in, and don't put a lefty.
Why would the Nats trade for a third catcher? Are they nuts? They got a catcher from Oakland. Are they nuts? They're going to put catchers at all 9 positions?
Not in real baseball.
Probably nuts. Or are they planning to flip catchers?
So it looks like the Yankees had a pretty good deadline. Tampa added Nelson Cruz, but they lost Castillo, their closer. The Red Sox got an injured Schwarber. Yankees turned out doing pretty well.
Yeah, getting Rizzo and Gallo, that's probably if it weren't for the Scherzer and Turner deal, that would probably be the biggest move of the season.
That's pretty good. Well, guys, I have to get rolling, but you did a great job. I hope everybody listening enjoyed it. You guys keep going.
Thank you. Thank you, Lenny.
We'll do it again, man.
We'll talk for about another 20 minutes or so, but
all right, go ahead. Nice to be with you too.
And Lenny, it was an honor to have you on with me.
Cheers.
Thanks. All right. Appreciate it. See you later.
Okay.
I don't think he knows how to remove himself.
I don't know anything. What, are you kidding me?
I'm going to remove you. There you go.
He gone.
Anyway, it's always fun. There'll be some things straggling in. It is kind of amazing. I know in fantasy we do this. I'm in a dynasty league where when a trading that comes on, it's like literally it's like just so much fun, and it's also simultaneously a nightmare because the teams just change so radically on that day for the playoffs. The bad teams trade for picks and for future things, and the good teams, he acquires this guy and he acquires this guy, and teams are so different. But the Yankees are going to be radically different. The Braves are going to be significantly different. The Dodgers are going to be significantly different on the plus side. And then you got teams on like the Cubs. The Cubs got rid of Rizzo, Baez, and Bryant within the same 24 hours. I guess that's, as a Cub fan, like ripping the Band-Aid off. Getting out of.
I'll tell you what. I bet you things aren't real happy at Harry Carey's right now in Chicago.
Yeah. No, this was something that.
Harry Carey be rolling over in his grave.
My hope was that Baez would have stuck around. I would have rather seen him stay and Contreras go.
They should have kept Baez.
What?
They should have kept Baez. He is a world-class talent. He really is. I think Bryant's been overrated. Ever since his first year he was up, he's been overrated.
I think Bryant was going. Bryant is in that category that Chris had been burnt long before the season came around. And, it's like he actually sued the Cubs to try to get a year of experience in his game.
Chris Bryant was right about that. They've been doing that because it's a smart business decision. You know what? The owners take all of the business risks. The players take none. They get injury.
There's absolutely no business risk to baseball. That's the thing, is there's none whatsoever. Every team makes money every year, with the possible exception in years when there's a worldwide pandemic killing 3 million people, or maybe a world war. It's like the whole concept of the Cubs thing, and the reason why we knew this was happening is that the Cubs were bought by the Ricketts family not because they had a particular penchant for Chicago or for baseball, but because they had, as being a family that made tons of money running a brokerage firm, they were looking for a good, safe investment for $1.5 billion. And they were pitched many different ideas, and the one that won out was buy a baseball team, specifically the Cubs. You're going to make, it's like
a baseball team is a good investment. I agree with that. It is.
It's an impossible to lose investment. The way people talk about losing money in baseball is whenever you hear somebody say, an owner say, I've lost money, they're saying, I thought I was going to make more than this. That's what they're saying.
Right.
It's like,
yeah.
The Nationals say, the MLB says the Nationals, this is your brother. The Nationals are moving Lester to the Cardinals. John Lester.
When did he say that?
It's in the chat room right this minute.
Oh, okay. All right.
I always hate this one here. Like, it's important to source your thing if you know something, but you see this thing where they go, John Lester is going to the Cardinals per source. Yeah, but what kind of source?
He's an Associated Press reporter, so he should recognize that.
Oh, your brother is?
He would work for the Associated Press for 40 years.
Yeah, I'm not knocking him. I'm saying, like, I was looking for validation.
Yeah, I understand.
And I'm seeing something from it. I won't name any names, but somebody who works for ESPN wrote that Lester going to Cardinals per source. Not somebody really big. Not somebody big time.
Well,
but I've seen that a lot.
Oh,
well,
okay.
he wrote that in there, and the truth is, we talk about who you trust on the outside. It's like, I trust the guys in our group, but the truth is, we're just discussing stuff that we hear. So if your brother were to say that, the Marlins were trading Trevor Rogers to the Tigers or something, it's just something that he probably heard somewhere, and he's not lying. You know what I mean?
You're right.
He just heard something that was wrong. And so I trust that way. But so I go to look for a backup source, and just to make sure that there's other people saying it. And sometimes you find it, sometimes you don't. And I just think it's kind of weird that they say per source without saying what the source was. Yeah. Like even in that story that Lenny tells about John Heyman, it's like, if he recognized it, if they were recognized as the guys that broadcast on this radio show, he said they was doing 2 radio shows at the time. It's like, he could have quoted it as like whatever, insiders or something, and that would have been true. Insiders are saying this is happening, but that doesn't mean much. I used to tell these. I used to run before I did this baseball thing. I did a couple other things as hobbies, and I used to run a blog about the outdoors and travel, right? And I would tell all these really like bizarre stories that people have told me, right? About things like overturned train cars where they kill a bunch of monkeys or something.
Right.
And I would say, look, it's 100% true that I was told this. I'm not lying to you. Is the story true? Who knows?
Right.
It's still a fun story. Anyway, that's a little sidegress about like credibility, and I live by that. I tell stories about my family sometimes, and I'll say I was told this. I don't know if it's true, because I've learned over the course of my life that there are very few people. I wouldn't say that lied to me more, but have lied to me deeper than my family. You know what I mean? Like there's only a handful of lies, but they're very, very important lies. You know what I mean?
Well, I've had sort of a significant lie told to me for 78 years, and that is, who is my father?
That's the kind of thing you get.
And I'm not sure now that I've identified my father. Finally, after 78 years, I'm not sure that anybody in the family knew who my father was. So why didn't they just say we don't know? Your mother got picked up in the bar and went out for a happy hour. And you, sir, were the result.
Yeah, my family story isn't much better than that. It's like my parents were married for 13 months, and they had 2 kids.
Whatever works.
And so what happened was, this is the thing. Like,
it ain't funny. I'm not laughing at you, Doug. I'm laughing with you.
So the thing was, like,
these things happen in families.
They were brought up because they were brought up that they couldn't have sex outside of marriage, and they really wanted to have sex with each other. So they got married, even though they didn't like each other. You know what I mean? But they really wanted to have sex with each other. So over the course of time, the reason for they were young and stupid, like all of us are.
I understand that. Yeah.
And so over time, there's been myriad lies about what actually went on. One of them being incredibly devastating, and I won't. All right, I'll give you a real quick thing. It was hard to get divorced back in those days.
Right.
So I don't know the entire story about this, but the story I was saying is that there were only 3 reasons you get divorced. Right.
Right.
Infidelity, physical abuse, or non-consummation. That was it. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there were 2 kids, and so the story was that my dad got to pick between being a wife beater or an infidelity guy, and he chose to be a wife beater.
It ain't funny. I don't mean to laugh, but
no, it is. But for a good portion of my life to be mean to me,
right?
People let me believe that my dad beat my mom.
Oh my goodness,
that's a terrible lie, right?
Yeah,
that's why I'm saying the big ones. Anyway,
we Jorge Soler just traded to the Atlanta Braves. Are you kidding me?
Wow. One of the questions that came up.
Where are they going to play all these guys?
And Jorge, it's like the question was before was you got Rosario.
Where are they going to play all these guys?
Well, Jock Peterson can play first base. But Friedman plays first base.
Yeah, where are they going to play all these guys?
Soler, Duvall can play center field. I wouldn't say he's a great center fielder, but he's more than passable. He's like a B minus center fielder. He's actually an A+ left fielder. It's one of the few guys that's actually a good fielding left fielder. Eddie Rosario plays. Man, yeah, it is. How do you play all those guys? You got. I mean, is Dansby Swanson? You got Ozzie Albies. Austin Riley's been fine. Is it just for a backup player?
I have no idea. Cubs get Alexander Canario, number 9 prospect.
That's a good one. That's what I was saying.
Is he good?
Yeah, the Alexander Canario. I like him. He's
one of right-handed pitcher Caleb Killian. Excuse me.
I don't know that one, but he's one of. They've done a very good job international signings. Canario is one of the guys international signings. He doesn't really have a space on the Giants because the guys behind him. It's not Heliot Ramos, but it's the other guy. the shortstop Marco Luciano, I think his name is.
Yeah, they're not going to trade him.
Well, the thing is that he displaces the room for Canario, but Canario can be a pretty good player. I'm not saying
Where does Canario play?
He's a shortstop infielder.
Oh, he is. He's an infielder. Okay.
Yeah. That's a nice little pickup. Outfielder they have it marked now, so I guess they moved him to the outfield. He was drafted as a shortstop. That's 100%, but maybe in the outfield trying to get him space.
My brother says that Atlanta's getting Ozuna back too.
That's why one of the things I reported was that the cam footage was looked at and they reduced the charge from a felony to a misdemeanor, which means that there's no doubt that Ozuna will come back to the Braves. Yeah. The question is when.
You're right.
It's like misdemeanor domestic violence still going to have something said by the league. They haven't done anything about it because he's been hurt. There is a chance that he comes back before they do something, which I find weird. And I think that if I were the Braves and I was thinking that Ozuna's coming back because he actually signed to a 4-year deal, right? That you'd want to get that. You'd want one of two things to happen: either for him to not start his penalty till next year, if that's possible, or get it over with this year. One or the other. But to have it sort of hanging over the head is
well, if one of the worst things that can happen, Doug, is Merrill says they're outfielders. No, he's wrong. They've cut Inciarte. He's wrong about that. Acuna's gone for the year. Heredia, Almonte, Peterson, Duvall, and Soler.
Lenny says the Rays acquired Jordan Luplow and DJ Johnson from the Indians for Battenfield.
For who?
Who's Battenfield? Well, Luplow is like a typical Tampa Bay guy. Crushes lefties, doesn't hit righties, and that's the kind of guy that they could use. I mean, utilize more than just use. Like, they'll use him correctly. Hansel Robles goes to the Twins.
He's with the Twins.
Goes from the Twins to the Reds Sox?
No, he went to the Red Sox.
Ooh, that hurts. I have him in a league as a closer.
My whole fantasy team is screwed.
A lot of things I was going to talk about a little bit about like some of these things. Like this changes the world, but it actually gives not so much in shell leagues, because in shell leagues you need to have really good players. So the fact that you might start somebody like a Daniel Johnson or like who's that guy playing center field now for the Cubs, Ortega. Like in a deep league, they'll never be good enough for that. But in a deep league, you're going to find a bunch of guys on the Nationals that all of a sudden are getting more playing time. A bunch of guys on the Cubs that are all of a sudden getting more playing time.
Well, the Nats made a good deal for Lester. They got Lane Thomas, who has a 2021 WAR of minus 0.3. And a 104 batting average.
Lane Thomas looked okay last year, but he hasn't played that way this year. That's one of the things about the Cardinals. The whole division has played poorly, except for the Brewers have played over their head. Is that you kind of expected something to come out of the – it's like Goldschmidt has been doing what Goldschmidt's been doing of late. Rendon is a little bit worse than the Rendon we knew in Colorado, but not so bad. But they sort of expected.
You mean Arenado?
What? Arenado, yeah.
You said Rendon.
You're correct, 100% correct. But you have you had the Carlson, Bader, O'Neill, guys like Lane Thomas, the guy that traded Nagowski, even to some extent, not Colton Wong, but Paul DeJong and Edmund. All those guys have been sort of disappointments this year.
Yeah,
the whole thing, and it's amazing that they're still in it. And that's the reason why that division has just been bad this year. The reason why it's like the Brewers are in first place and they're like 9 games up in first place, and they're doing it with, it's basically been Willie Adames, Avisail Garcia, and Luis Urias carrying the torch batting wise.
Yep, you're right. You're
like those aren't really great players by any stretch of the imagination.
That's right.
So there's something really wrong with that division. And, just what was it? I guess it's been a while now. 8 years ago, they had the Pirates, the Cardinals, and the Cubs all with 97 or more wins. So it is time for somebody to step up and take that over. Cincinnati, you should go do something. But apparently you didn't.
Cincinnati was pretty inactive.
Yeah, they're thinking that just the return of Castellanos and the return of Mike Moustakas will be enough.
Well, who's going to be the closer in Chicago? They traded Chapter.
Oh, yeah. That's Dan Winkler is the guy that I would go first on.
Winkler?
I'm not 100% certain. There's a lot of flotsam and jetsam in that grouping, but he's the righty who's been effective enough. They traded away Chafin, they traded away Tepera, they traded away.
Chafin was good, wasn't he?
Chafin was really good. I hear that Chafin tweeted out that he was just he knew he was going to be in Oakland for long, so he's just looking for a boat to live on. Does somebody have a boat for him to rent? He looked like Dick Tidder out there. It's just a fun guy. Chafin was actually really good. He was a really good setup guy for the Diamondbacks for half a decade, and it's a real role in Major League Baseball, and he was one of the better lefty setup guys, and he was good enough to survive the 3-batter rule versus lefties.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's showing Winkler is next in line on the depth chart.
Who's depth chart?
This is CBS Fantasy Sports depth chart.
Yeah, my rule about predicting closers has always been you want to pick either the guy with the best stuff or the guy that there's motion that the management likes. And Winkler, of what's available, I was looking at this morning, is the guy with the best stuff of what's remaining. The truth is there have a couple guys like Rowan Wick and Brad Wyke who aren't bad pitchers, but they haven't really put it together this year, and they've been injured and up and down for the minors. But Winkler,
he won't be Adam Morgan. He's not that good.
No.
Rowan Wick is good, isn't he? But he's on the IL.
That's what I'm saying. So of the people that are healthy, that's the guy. That's the guy. Who else has been stripped apart? Well, let's see.
You've got Miami. Miami traded their guy, so Anthony Bender or Floro. Now go ahead.
I think in Chicago, one guy that people picked up were wondering if he had a long-term value is Patrick Wisdom. And Patrick Wisdom is a power hitter. He is a 240, 250 hitter, but he could hit 25 home runs. He's now an everyday starter, probably their first baseman.
You think he's good?
He is what he is. He's a Chris Davis type, but not as much power. He's a CJ Crone type. He's got real power, not much average, but in a deep, he's not shallow league rosterable, but in a deep league, he can give you decent home run numbers and an average that won't completely kill you. It'll be sub average, it'll be sub league average, but not monstrously sub league average. He's not a 200 hitter.
Richard Rodriguez was not traded. I'm surprised at that.
The Cubs are bringing back up Sergio Alcantara. Wow, this is a bad team. You can start start targeting Chicago with your pitchers.
Yeah.
Maybe Ian Happ turns it around on his 5th opportunity to show something.
He's really been bad this year. It's a real disappointment. I thought he was going to be great.
Yeah, everyone. That's the thing about these prospects is you just don't know, and more often than not, they fail. Now, the ones that make it, it's wonderful, and it's kind of cool. But there have been. I don't think there's been a prospect traded today that had higher expectations than Ian Happ.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to bail, Mr. Boyd.
Yeah, it's 4:30. It's good enough time there. I do thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was great.
It's a fun way to do this, and the way I say it is like I'm going to be watching the news anyway. Right. I may as well watch it with a friend like you.
Well, thank you. And it was great to have Lenny with us. I don't think I've ever been in a chat room with Lenny live. Like
I've been only a couple times, but yeah,
no, he doesn't do that very often. That was great. So we'll catch you.
So I'll be on Sunday at 1:00 likely.
I'll try to get in there.
I actually WE just says this real quick. Just type this up here. I actually want to drop Chapman for wisdom. Thanks for the info. Yeah, I guess you can do that. I was confused by the. Yeah, Matt Chapman has got to be. They're talking third base.
Matt Chapman's only hitting about 215.
That's what I'm saying. Wisdom is a little bit of an upgrade.
Yeah. Okay.
You know?
Well, that's
Anyway.
a good thought. Yeah.
Well, a good way. Do something beneficial for the people listening
Yeah.
as we leave.
Great. That's what we're here for.
Good night, everyone.
Okay. Good night.
Oh, tomorrow morning before we leave it. Tomorrow morning. No, sorry. Tomorrow at sometime 1-2ish, you'll have Andrea on to talk about this stuff again, and then you'll have both Andrea and Lenny on. Their serious show is called Lady and Legend. I'm going to call this show, to avoid copyright thing, I'm going to call it The Legend and the Lady on Sunday morning at 9:00. That's got a hoppin' Sunday morning chat room. You should be there, and then I'll be on at like 1:00 that day. And with that, I bid you all a good night.